Pluto's headed back into Capricorn, likely not a popular subject amongst astrologers and people alike. Let's take a closer look at what it means. What does Pluto mean? How does Pluto affect us on an individual level as well as a society? Because let's remember, this is an outer planet. It's actually the furthest out planet that we have, at least that we know of. And there's a lot of debate of whether Pluto is a planet or an asteroid or whatever, but it's beside the point. It doesn't matter. It's not about getting into particulars like that. It's about the archetypal, energetic force that this body has out there and how that manifests and reflects within our own selves. Pluto affects us all as a whole. When the planet enters a sign, it's there for 14 years or more, depending on how the retrogrades work within that sign. So it can affect an entire generation. Yes, I feel it resonates individually as well, but it's almost like individually in the sense of how we partake in society with what it is that we do to psychologically transform ourselves and work to evolve ourselves. All right, so let's think about what Pluto means. Pluto is the planet of evolution, psychological transformation, transmutation. It's very mysterious, dark, and hidden. The forces of Pluto, they lie deep within the psyche, deep within the subconscious, and oftentimes their work isn't really seen directly out in the world in the manifest here and now, but it's working under the surface, beneath the surface, speaking on an unconscious level, but completely doing work from behind the scene. Some say that it's karmic. It can represent forces that you carry with you from previous lifetimes, if you believe in such things. Point of that being, it's hidden, it's secretive. It is a controlling force from beneath the surface of what's known. Capricorn, being ruled by Saturn, brings in elements of discipline and control. It's very practical. It can be rigid. It's not so much an expansive sign, but one that's more constricted. So there could be societal constrictions that start to play out in our worlds. The last time that Pluto went into Capricorn was way back at the end of 2008 into 2009, and it spent from there all the way up through the pandemic, through every other thing that happened from 2008 to here and now, which we can all agree is a completely different world. That's how Pluto affects us as a society. So gratefully, it's only going to be in this sign until January of 2024. So it's just for the next few months that this will be happening. But still, it's something to be aware of, and it could be of significance. You know, it went into Aquarius, which is much more of a freedom-seeking sign, doing things its own way. As a society, it would give us a sense of rebelliousness, a sense of unconventionality. That definitely seems like freedom when you weigh that up against what Capricorn represents. And so there's been a release, there's been a sense of breath once again. For the past few months that it's been in Aquarius, but yet now we're going back into Capricorn, which could represent and reflect itself in ways that might feel a bit more constricting, a bit more limiting. So what does that mean for us? How can we prepare within ourselves, as individuals within a society? Let's think about what we can do if there were constrictions once again that come into our world. Now remember, it's not just physical. We need to prepare mentally. We need to prepare emotionally and spiritually as well. Let's ground ourselves. This isn't a time to freak out or think something terrible or bad is going to happen. I think some people might feel that with Pluto going back into Capricorn because of what we've all been through as a society. But it doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to happen, especially if we take one of the key meanings of Pluto, which is evolution, which is transmutation and growth. We learn from what we did last time. We learn from that energy, and we apply that now as we go back into Capricorn, all the wiser, all the more prepared for what could potentially unfold. And then we're not so sideswiped, we're not so limited, we're not so controlled by these outer forces, but instead we use those disciplines, we use that control in a way that keeps us moving forward and keeps us evolving in ourselves, evolving as a society. I mean, I'm a big fan, of course, of seeing the positive in things. I'm a Sagittarius. Us Sagittarians, we love to see things in a light that brings out the best, that brings out positivity. It's that Jupiter energy that we have. But I just refuse to believe that the universe wants to oppress us, that the universe wants to make life painful for us. I don't feel that. But instead, it's understanding adversity and approaching adversity in a way that builds us and makes us stronger. Makes us be able to handle things we normally think we wouldn't be able to. But because we've been through it, because we've been tested, because we've been tried, we're stronger now. So we can handle dipping back into Capricorn for just another 6 months or so. It's not going to be a problem for us. We've been way more constricted than what that's going to be. So let's use that constriction. Let's use that discipline. Let's preemptively apply discipline. Let's apply that to our own lives. Meditation, yoga, grounding ourselves, getting out into nature, spending time with our families, spending time with our loved ones, doing the things that we've been limited to do in the past. You know, I'm talking about the pandemic time when we were controlled. We were completely told not to do the things that are just natural to us to do. And again, I am not saying at all or predicting that this will happen once again. However, Pluto going into Capricorn brings constrictive energy, brings controlled energy, brings a possibility for these things or those types of energies to manifest once again as a society, which of course trickles down into our individual lives as well. So let's reverse it. Let's flip it. Polarize that. Let's move towards that instead of letting it oppress us and destroy us and hold us down. It doesn't have to be that way. So let's treat it as an exciting time. In the face of adversity, let's see how we can rise up as a society, take on that challenge, rise above it, use it as a launch pad to evolve ourselves. And then when we get through it, man, we're at a completely different level, a completely different state of being. Back into Aquarius, back into a breath to move into something out of the norm. Something new and unique that we haven't seen before. We don't have to repeat the old patterns. Capricorn loves the old ways, the ancient ways. Now, I'm not saying that those aren't useful and that those aren't meant to be applied in life as wisdom. Capricorn is wise. Capricorn represents time. There's wisdom in there. There's knowledge in there. There is a lot to be learned through Capricorn. There's a lot to be learned through discipline, through structure. It's not a bad thing unless it becomes controlling and oppressive. And then our natural will and desire to fly and be free becomes threatened. And then it's fight or flight, right? And then we start to panic. And we don't need to do that. Again, let's do a preemptive strike towards Pluto going into Capricorn. Meditation, grounding ourselves, focusing the mind, using our own intention of how we're going to use that energy to better ourselves and evolve and then we'll move through this and we'll sail through this, and it won't be any difficulty at all. All right. Again, I hope that helps you. I hope you can think about this as this transition happens. And I hope it inspires you. And I hope you use this time to truly better yourself and evolve yourself and grow, which will add to us growing as a people and as a society. All right, thank you so much.